Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about a kind of man who doesn't get a lot of recognition, but who is, in many ways, one of the most reliable and steadfast souls you'll ever meet. He's the man who, for reasons of his own, spends a lot of time alone. Some may see him as distant or detached, but in reality, his loyalty runs deeper than most people can understand. When I say loyalty, I'm talking about someone who spends his life somehow, copes with his own life, and has enough left to protect others well. He's not alone because he's uninterested in others. He's alone because he's fiercely committed to his values, to his principles, and to those he loves. When you think about loyalty, it's easy to focus on the loud gestures, the grand promises, the big acts. But the true loyalty often comes quietly. It's in the small, unnoticed moments where a man proves who he truly is. The man who spends time alone understands something. True loyalty isn't built on noise or company. It's built on the foundation of self-discipline, integrity, and the willingness to put others before oneself when it counts. So when you meet a man like this, don't mistake his solitude for weakness or indifference. Understand that the depth of his character is rooted in his quiet moments of reflection, his discipline, and his commitment to what's important. And in those moments, you'll find a man who is more loyal than anyone who spends their time in the company of others, only to fade when loyalty is truly needed. A man who spends time alone often does so not out of necessity, but because he understands the importance of solitude in self-reflection. Solitude creates space for a person to truly know themselves, to strip away the distractions of the world and confront their inner thoughts, feelings, and desires. In the silence, there is no pressure to conform, no need to impress others. It's a rare opportunity to look inward and assess the direction of one's life, the choices that have been made, and the goals that are still to be pursued. In these moments alone, he's able to process past experiences, both the triumphs and the failures, and extract lessons that would otherwise be lost in the noise of daily life. Without constant external input, he can examine his own beliefs, challenging them when necessary, and strengthening them when they prove true. It's in this solitude that his values are sharpened, his resolve solidified. Self-reflection also allows for the acceptance of imperfections. In solitude, there's no need to put on a mask or pretend to be someone he's not. It's a space to acknowledge flaws, work through doubts, and take ownership of personal growth. The man who spends time alone understands that true growth doesn't come from external validation, but from an honest assessment of who he is and where he stands. This self-reflection isn't always easy. It requires vulnerability and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. But it's in this process that he becomes more aligned with his authentic self, less swayed by external opinions and more rooted in a strong, unshakable sense of who he is and what he stands for. Loyalty is often misunderstood. People tend to think of it in terms of grand gestures, loud declarations, public acts of devotion, or dramatic displays of support. But true loyalty, the kind that really matters, is not always loud or flashy. In fact, it's often the quiet acts that demonstrate loyalty more than anything else. It's in the moments when no one is watching, when no one expects anything of you, that loyalty shows its true power. He says, a loyal person doesn't need to be celebrated for their devotion. They don't demand recognition for staying true to their commitments, or for being there when others falter. Their loyalty is not about attention. It's about consistency, reliability, and the willingness to show up even when it's difficult. It's the man who steps in to help without being asked, the one who supports others from behind the scenes, offering help when needed without fanfare. This quiet loyalty is often built over time through small, everyday actions. It's the person who keeps their word, who shows up when they say they will, who's there for a friend or family member in the middle of the night without a second thought. Loyalty doesn't require a spotlight or applause. It thrives in the subtleties of life. It's the steady, unwavering commitment that remains, even when others have moved on or forgotten. And sometimes the quietest loyalty is the most enduring. When someone is loyal in silence, they are not swayed by external praise or circumstances. Their loyalty is not contingent on what they can gain in return. It is based on a deep understanding of what loyalty truly means: supporting, standing by, and being there for those who matter, regardless of the noise around them. Their actions speak volumes without uttering a single word. Commitment beyond the surface is something rare and powerful. It's easy to make promises when things are going well or when the rewards seem immediate, but true commitment runs deeper than what can be seen on the surface. It's not driven by convenience, personal gain, or fleeting emotions. It's rooted in something far more lasting: a sense of purpose, a responsibility to others, and a dedication to the long-term vision. A man who is truly committed looks beyond the immediate and considers the bigger picture. He understands that life is full of challenges, setbacks, and difficult moments that will test his resolve. Yet, despite these obstacles, his commitment remains unwavering. It's not conditional on how easy things are or how much recognition he might receive. He stays true to his word and to the people who depend on him, even when the road gets tough. This kind of commitment is not flashy. It doesn't announce itself with grand gestures or declarations. It's found in the little things. The consistency in showing up day after day, even when no one is looking. It's in the quiet moments when he makes sacrifices, when he chooses to stay loyal to his cause, his family, or his friends, because he knows that true commitment requires sacrifice and effort over time. A man who commits beyond the surface understands that real relationships, real goals, and real growth require effort, patience, and perseverance. It's easy to commit to something when everything feels right, but the true test of commitment is when everything feels uncertain, when challenges arise, or when the initial excitement fades. That's when the real strength of commitment is revealed. Commitment beyond the surface isn't about seeking accolades or attention. It's about remaining steadfast, even when others may walk away or when things don't go according to plan. It's a quiet but powerful reminder that true loyalty and dedication are built not on superficial desires, but on a foundation that runs much deeper. There is a profound strength in silence, though it's often overlooked or misunderstood. In a world that constantly demands attention and validation, the person who embraces silence doesn't seek external approval. Instead, they find their power in the quiet moments, in the times when they are left alone with their thoughts, their purpose, and their own reflections. This strength doesn't need to shout or prove itself. It simply is. Silence provides clarity. In a fast-pacing world full of noise, distractions, and the pressures of society, the ability to be still and quiet is a rare form of strength. It is in silence that a person can connect with their inner self, listen to their instincts, and focus on what truly matters. It's in this space that decisions are made with intention rather than impulse. When a man chooses silence, he gives himself the room to think deeply, to reflect, and to act with purpose, not just in reaction to external forces. Moreover, strength in silence doesn't mean passivity. It's not about hiding or retreating from the world. It's about choosing when and how to engage. The man who possesses this kind of strength knows when to speak and when to listen. He understands that silence can be more powerful than words, that sometimes actions speak louder than anything that can be said. There is wisdom in holding back, in resisting the urge to react immediately or to rush to conclusions. Silence allows him the time to make thoughtful decisions that are rooted in self-control rather than emotion. In moments of conflict or chaos, the ability to remain silent can be one of the greatest demonstrations of strength. Instead of reacting with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, the person who can remain composed and calm in silence holds a quiet power. In their silence, they are not weak. They are strong enough to resist the need to dominate the conversation or escalate the situation. They know that sometimes saying nothing is the most powerful statement they can make. Silence is also a form of discipline. It's about knowing the value of quiet moments and choosing them over the constant noise of the world. In those quiet times, strength is cultivated through patience, focus, and an understanding that true power comes from within. The man who embraces silence has learned to master his thoughts, his impulses, and his emotions. He doesn't need to fill every moment with noise because he understands the power of stillness and the depth it brings. Loyalty built on discipline is not simply about being there when things are easy or when it's convenient. It's a loyalty that is consistent, unyielding, and rooted in a deep sense of responsibility and self-control. Discipline is the foundation upon which this kind of loyalty is built. It's the ability to remain steadfast, even when the circumstances aren't ideal, when the road is difficult, or when the reward isn't immediately visible. This type of loyalty requires the strength to stay true, not because of external validation, but because of an internal commitment to something greater. When loyalty is built on discipline, it becomes a practice, not a reaction. It's something that is actively cultivated every day through small actions, through decisions that reinforce the commitment to the people, principles, or causes that matter most. A disciplined person doesn't wait for motivation to strike or for a convenient time to act. They stay loyal because they understand that loyalty is a choice that requires consistency and effort, even when it feels like the world is testing their resolve. In relationships, this kind of loyalty shows up in ways that are often subtle but powerful. It's in the moments when the person stands by someone, not because it's easy, but because they have made a conscious decision to remain committed. It's when they follow through on promises, not because they're expecting something in return, but because their word is their bond. Discipline in loyalty means doing what's right, even when it's uncomfortable, when others might be looking for a way out, or when the cost of staying loyal feels too high. A man whose loyalty is built on discipline understands that actions speak louder than words. He knows that being reliable and trustworthy isn't about occasional grand gestures, but about the everyday, quiet consistency of following through. This kind of loyalty doesn't fade with time. It grows stronger because it is reinforced by a daily commitment to doing what is right and upholding the values that matter most. This is the reward of quality that matters most to some. Loyalty born from discipline also includes the ability to prioritize the long term over the short term. In a world that often rewards quick gratification, this type of loyalty requires patience and a deep understanding that true loyalty isn't always about instant rewards. It's about sticking with something or someone through thick and thin because you believe in the bigger picture, in the long-term goal, and in the shared values that bind you. It's the discipline to stay loyal even when the immediate situation doesn't provide the recognition or reward you might deserve. Loyalty built on discipline means that no matter how tough things get, you don't give up on what you've committed to. It's a loyalty that's not driven by the fleeting whims of emotion, but by the understanding that your word, your actions, and your dedication are what define you. It is a steady, unwavering commitment that holds firm through the storms of life. Consistency over time is the hallmark of true loyalty. It's not about occasional acts of devotion, but about showing up day after day, year after year, even when the initial excitement has faded and the rewards are not immediate. It's easy to be loyal in moments of passion, when everything is fresh and new, but true consistency lies in continuing to stand by someone or something when the novelty has worn off and when the effort required becomes greater than anticipated. A loyal person who is consistent understands that their actions over time are what define them. They know that loyalty isn't about a single dramatic moment or gesture, but about the quiet, steady commitment they demonstrate through repeated, everyday choices. It's in the simple, small things: returning a phone call, fulfilling promises, offering help when needed, even when it's inconvenient. These actions add up, layer by layer, building a foundation of trust and dependability that doesn't waver with the passage of time. Consistency means that when things get tough, when life throws curveballs, and when the path becomes unclear, a loyal person doesn't falter. They stay true because their loyalty is not based on temporary circumstances or fluctuating emotions. Instead, their commitment is ingrained, a part of who they are, not just what they do in specific moments. They don't waver because they understand that the real strength of loyalty is in its ability to endure. Over time, this kind of consistency also builds a deeper, more meaningful connection. When someone remains loyal and consistent in their actions, it creates a sense of security, a knowledge that they can be relied upon no matter what. It's not just about being there during the good times, it's about being the steady hand during the difficult moments, the one who doesn't abandon ship when the seas get rough. This kind of consistency fosters trust that goes beyond the superficial, creating a bond that is built on reliability and a shared history of support. Loyalty that is consistent over time also means being there in both big and small moments. It's not just about supporting someone during life's milestones, but also in the everyday, ordinary moments that make up most of life. It's about showing up when it's not glamorous, when no one is watching, and when there's no recognition to be had. This consistency is often quiet, but it's the kind of loyalty that sticks with you, that builds the foundation for long-lasting relationships and unbreakable trust. Ultimately, consistency over time reveals a character that is not easily shaken or swayed. It proves that loyalty isn't a momentary impulse, but a lasting quality. It's not about being perfect or flawless. It's about being steady, reliable, and unwavering in your commitment, no matter what life throws your way. Understanding the value of relationships is about recognizing that true connections are built on trust, respect, and mutual support. Relationships, whether personal or professional, are not simply exchanges of convenience or temporary bonds. They are investments that require time, effort, and genuine care. A man who understands the value of relationships sees beyond the surface and knows that at the core, these connections are about shared experiences, loyalty, and being there for each other through thick and thin. When you truly understand the value of a relationship, you begin to appreciate the nuances of it, the small gestures, the quiet support, the moments when words are unnecessary, because both parties just know. It's about recognizing that relationships are not transactional. They are built on mutual respect and a deep understanding of one another's needs and desires. A loyal person doesn't give because they expect something in return. They give because they understand that a relationship is an ongoing exchange of support, empathy, and care. This understanding means knowing that relationships require nurturing, that they are not static. They evolve and change over time, and in order to sustain them, you have to continually put in the effort. It's about being present, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. When someone values a relationship, they recognize that their actions, big and small, can either strengthen or weaken the bond they share with another person. Moreover, valuing relationships means understanding that they are not always easy. Challenges and misunderstandings are inevitable, but the person who truly values relationships approaches those difficulties with patience, understanding, and the willingness to work through problems together. They know that in the end, the worth of the relationship is greater than any momentary discomfort or disagreement. A person who truly values relationships also knows the importance of listening. Listening goes beyond hearing words. It's about understanding the emotions, the context, and the needs behind those words. It's about giving someone the space to express themselves and offering support without judgment or the urge to solve everything immediately. This understanding forms the bedrock of empathy, which is essential to any strong relationship. Ultimately, when you understand the value of relationships, you recognize that they are not just about shared moments of happiness or success. They are about being there through the tough times, offering a steady hand when things fall apart, and being a source of strength and comfort when life gets hard. Relationships become the support system you rely on, the network that helps you grow, and the source of joy in the quiet, everyday moments that matter most. This understanding deepens the commitment and loyalty you give, because you know that in the end, the relationships you build are the true measure of a life well lived. So, as we reflect on the kind of person who is loyal, we must remember that loyalty isn't always loud or obvious. It doesn't always come with a grand gesture or a flashy display. True loyalty is quiet, consistent, and rooted in deep understanding and discipline. It's built over time, forged in solitude, and strengthened by an unwavering commitment to the people and values that matter most. A man who spends time alone, who is loyal to his principles, is often the one who can be counted on when it truly counts. In a world that often seeks instant gratification, where people come and go with the tides of convenience, it's important to remember the value of the quiet, consistent, and disciplined loyalty that doesn't need to be seen or praised to be real. It is in these unsung acts of commitment, the steady reliability in times of trial, that we find the true power of loyalty. So, to those who walk this path, who choose to remain loyal, even in silence, and who understand the importance of their relationships, your loyalty is not unnoticed. It is the kind of strength that others depend on, the kind that holds the fabric of trust and integrity together. And in the end, it's that loyalty, forged in discipline, consistency, and understanding, that leaves a legacy far more lasting than any momentary display could ever do.